We did it last week.
I told you we got it over with. My part is going to be very small here. As I mentioned, Coach, we do tireless, exhausting evening negotiating, but we finally got it done. And I couldn't be more pleased, all jokes aside, and have Coach agree to stay here until he's 70, God willing. And he's meant so much to this program. He's a tremendous leader for all of us, but he's a great icon in this community and for all of college basketball. So, Coach, thanks for
Thank you, Tom. Well, I'm excited. It wasn't exhausting. Just like our first contract, it was very exhausting. I haven't said 2 words to Tom about it, and we just have great faith in each other, both of us. The one common bond we have is we love the university, we love the city, we love the state. There's no place we'd rather be, no university we'd rather work at. And we're both very lucky because it's special times. You know, when you see an undefeated football team, when you see all the success and all the building, and in a vibrant downtown arena, maybe the finest in all of college basketball, it's just exciting times. And I'm really happy to be part of it and carry on this glorious tradition. That's something really, really special.
How important is the relationship between the two? So many people, regardless of the job, talk about the fit with each other, and that seems to be big as well.
You know, I've been very lucky. If you ask me, in my lifetime, I've been able to work for some of the best people in sports, and they all have one great characteristic. It's a belief in what you do, and when someone believes in you, you just work that much harder. And Tom has all the qualities of the people I've worked for combined. You know, he has the strength of a Lou Lamoriello. He has the personality of a C.M. Newton and the caring of a C.M. Newton. So he encompasses everything that I've worked with throughout the years. And it's a great ending for me.
Last year you said that you thought that this contract would be it for you. What's changed?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I've got 4 or 5 really close friends. And I went to a wedding 2 years ago, maybe a little longer now. Jim O'Brien's daughter, who now is working for the Dallas Mavericks and a longtime friend in the system. And all he kept saying throughout the wedding was, I said, "Oh, are you going to go back into it?" He said, "You know, Rick, I find it, basketball to me at this stage of my life right now is trite." He kept using that word. He said, "You're really into so many other things, and my time is occupied." And that's the first time in my life I ever thought about what would it be like without basketball. And then Ralph Willard retired, and then Billy Burke stepped out of his industry, and a lot of my close friends just stepped out of it. And then all of a sudden I called Jim back when Richard left and said, "Jim, how about joining me again? Let's do this thing once again." And he said, "No, Rick, I'm just not ready. I'm not crazy about college basketball, and I'm really enjoying my life." Picked up the paper about 2 months later in transactions, and he took the Dallas Mavericks assistant's job. I tried to get a hold of him to see how did basketball change from trite. And then Billy Burke left his retirement, went back to work on Wall Street, and everybody seemed to go back to work. And the one thing I realized, you know, I don't know if I could live without basketball. Even broadcasting, I wouldn't have the highs and the lows. And I guess every coach lives for that. When you see a Larry Brown still dying to get back in the game, you just, when I've been playing this game since I've been 6 years of age, and it's been such a passion of mine. It's been my best friend along with my other friends. You know, to me, it's a meaningful distraction to anything else that goes on in your life. You know, and my whole family is involved in this. It's not like I just coach and I'm away from my family. My wife, my children, now my grandchildren, live for every game, every Louisville basketball. It's an event, and it's the most important thing on their agenda. So we would all, and my extended family of minorities, we would all miss it so much. So it's I don't know if I could live without basketball.
Tom, what is it that you wanted out of this contract? What is it that you're looking for?
Well, I thought it would be a crime if he retired. That'd be just an absolute crime. And to be cheating the game of basketball. You know, certainly wouldn't be cheating the university because he's done so much for the university. You look around, It all comes back to him. You look at those other 22 sports, it's all coming back to this basketball program because they're paying the bill. But it would be a crime to the game of basketball. And there's only a handful of coaches out there in coaches' caliber, and to see what he means to this place, and it's all genuine. I mean, there's no bigger joker in the world than him. But I mean, when it's all seriousness, I mean, he's going down as the elite of the elite, and it's meant so much to this program. I mean, I've said it last week. We wouldn't have an arena if it wasn't for Coach. Plenty of people taking their bows, but we wouldn't have it if it wasn't for Coach. And that means so much to us, and it means so much to this city. You know, before he gets into Pikeville and all those things and doing a regular press conference, you know, I was thought, and half of this is a joke and half of it is very serious. I watched, last night I was watching the Monday night game, and you see John Schnatter's commercial, Papa John's with Peyton Manning. And he says, wait till the next deal. So that's what I said. You wait till the next deal we get with him. And that's going to be the good one. So this will take him to 70, and I'm sure at 70 he's going to be going on 45 then. So we just hitting his stride, and then we'll talk again.
Tom, in all seriousness, is this the easiest deal that you ever done?
They've all been really easy with Coach. He's got a passion. He's got a passion, and he wants to be here. He wants to be here for all the right reasons. And the people that he's associated with, his family and all his friends, they're bigger salespeople than I am, and he's right. It's such a big part of his life. As my family, it's a big part of their life, and it's a lot of fun. There's not been one day that's gone by in the 11 years the Coach has been here, 12 years he's been here, we haven't had fun.
You know, I remember one incident. Tom calls on me every now and then, and I remember it as if it's yesterday. And he said, Coach, can I come over with Bobby Pitino? I'd like to talk to you about something. I think Bobby may have had a meeting with Auburn, and I said, no, Tom, there's no way. And he called me back a couple hours later and said, we're coming over. It did happen. And I remember it so well because I sat down there with Bobby. I said, Bobby, do you realize what you have here? I said, I know from coaching the Celtics and every place that I've been, do you understand what you have right now? And he said, yeah, I think I do. He said, but I said, could you actually go to Auburn and live there and coach there? Could you give this up? Not that Auburn wasn't a great place, but I said, could you give all of this up? And he said, I don't know. I said, well, let me give you a little advice from someone who has left some great places. Don't do it. Don't do it. This is one of the finest places you're ever going to live. It's one of the finest universities you're ever going to represent. And just think long and hard about this one. If I was you, I'd get on the phone with the Courier-Journal right now, call him, and just squash everything. And he did listen. For that moment, he did listen. And he did it. But, you know, it really is, when you think about it, I don't know if I could survive without this community and this university and this athletic department. It would just, I just miss it terribly, because every day I drive to work, you know, you literally drive 7 minutes to work. It's early in the morning, obviously, and you don't have a bad minute on this job. It's just an awesome, awesome place. The people are awesome. The universe, from the president on down, I don't know if I could ever live without this place. And that's what I expressed to Bobby that day. And I tell all the coaches here almost every time I meet with them, because I speak to a lot of their teams. I said, you just understand how lucky you are to be at this university, because I've worked at a lot of places. And a lot of them have been very special, but this is about as special as it gets.
Can you two take the Zach down the block? Talk to Charlie.
I think Charlie gets it. I really do. Deep down in my heart, I think Charlie gets it. He's wise.
Will the financial terms change at all?
For Coach? Of course. It's like a golf game. He's going to win, so you might as well just, you know that going in.
So is it already good? Could we get a copy already?
I think Katie's working on that.
We expect to have it by the end of
And I'll tell you something honestly. When I signed the first contract, it was after the press conference. I have no idea what the contract is in terms of finances. It was the same as last time. I leave it to Rick Avar. He's friends with Tom. And I told Rick Avar one thing: just take it easy. You know, it's not something that's real significant to me at this stage of my life. You know, and he said this, Coach, it'll take 10 minutes.
You guys all talk about coach speak. You just heard it.
I hope so.
Coach, how does this affect recruiting? Because I know you were getting questions about the question last year about the retirement.
You know, I think, look, it's when I look at the situation, I'm realistic. You know, it's 10 years is a long time for someone who's 60. But I look at it as long as my health is great and I can do what I do with great passion, that's how long I want to go. I can do it. It's the place, I always said this, I was born a New Yorker and I want to die a Kentuckian. I've always said that for the last 20-some odd years. It's the university I want to represent. It's the city I want to live in. It's where my grandchildren are. So this is my life here. So as long as I'm healthy, I want to do it for as long as possible. And when recruits ask, I said, you have something very secure here because there's nothing that could drive me away from this city. It's my life right now. So and they know that. So whatever the length is, you know, as long as I'm healthy and what we do with basketball is, you know, I don't do like you guys have to do a lot of office work. You get on your computers. I don't do any of that. You know, I don't. Outside of an occasional blog that I write, I don't do any office work at all. You know, I'm in 4 individual instructors a day. I coach basketball in the afternoon. I make my recruiting calls. Now I have to text recruits all the time. That's all I do. My life is just spent in a gym between the lines. It's a damn good life.
Coach, what plateaus do you still hope to reach in terms of accomplishments?
You know, 3 years ago, or 2.5 now, I always read everything about John Wooden. I'm fascinated by the man. As a matter of fact, we had lunch with Seth Davis, and he's writing another book about John Wooden, unauthorized work about John. And Coach Wooden just has so many amazing pearls that he puts out there. And the one thing I take in and I live it right now is, you know, live every day as if you're going to die tomorrow, and learn every day as if you're going to live forever. And that's really all I want to do is get every single athlete I coach to reach their potential. I want to get every team to reach their potential. And obviously you hope that someday that spells a championship. You know, from our conference championship to a national championship, whatever it takes. If you get your team to reach their potential, you have a chance, if you're recruiting well. And we certainly are right now. We've got quality basketball players who are doing everything right as far as what I ask them to do. And you know, they're young people. Sometimes they're going to mess up like every young person does. But we'll stand by them and make sure that they leave here men.
Would you have to pinch yourself if you passed John? I mean, that could happen with a great season this year, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
In terms of
wins.
Well, it could happen, but it's, what I'd like to do is give another championship. The wins just mean longevity. But you know, we're all every year. Even when you don't have a chance to win a championship, you're always thinking that way. You know, you think you can make that run. And when you're at a University of Louisville, you should always believe every year you step on the court, you're going to win a championship. That's why you're playing that game. And that's your belief. And anytime you're at a school like this, you believe. I think it's one of the glorious traditions in all of basketball. It really is. And, you're representing something special. So that's what we're striving to make the players the best they could be, the team the best they could be. And nothing's guaranteed. You know, we know that from last year. When people say, you know, do you have a Final Four team? That's like saying, you know, well, how does it feel to be 63? I don't know. That's 3 years down the road. You know, so you don't know until you put that team on the court, and you have 3 months to improve until you get to that point. And the fun part about it is watching you get to that point. And that's what we're going to try and do.
Rick said last year that this contract, you thought the old would be the last one. Did you call him and say, hey, what are you talking about? Or what was your reaction?
I waited until we got done in Phoenix. And then we had that party after the game to go to the Final Four, then I got it. Got him at his weakest moment. It was an easy negotiation then.
Do you want to ask anything about Pikeville? Because we're not getting together again until then. Everybody wants to talk about the game.
Just some thoughts about the starting lineup that Kenny has now. I know that isn't always the most accurate thing in the world in terms of what, you know,
I'm sorry.
the starting lineup that's on paper here.
Kenny's starting lineup.
Yeah, is it Kenny's starting lineup or yours? And just some thoughts about those guys.
Luke Hancock, Montrez, Boogie Zhang, Russ Smith, and Peyton Sieva. That's correct.
And just some thoughts about those guys. some thoughts about those guys, why you picked those guys to be in that starting lineup?
Well, I think that'll be the starting lineup for Manhattan. So I'm trying to work, the one thing, it's interesting, Peyton Siva has really improved the most of any player. Every time you put Russ Smith at the two-guard spot, you see a much different basketball player. And he's finally, it's taken a long time, he's finally buying into what we're trying to accomplish. And he's doing some really, really fine things on the basketball court. I'm very excited about that. I think Luke Hancock is just terrific. I think he is, basically what we have is 3 point guards on the floor. And all three of those guys can create their own shot. And we haven't had that for a long time. Chris and Kyle were very good basketball players, but they couldn't create their own shot. The three of these guys can create their own shot. I think Gorky, you see obviously the change in his body. He's much stronger, much bigger. And Montrezl Harrell is exactly what you would want in a power forward.
So you thought that'd be the same lineup for Manhattan, because I mean Shane right now is running behind those guys in the front?
Shane didn't have the best summer in the world. He just didn't have, he didn't live in the gym like the rest of the guys. I think the rest of the guys celebrated for about a week. I think he just had an extended period of time. And he'll catch up. Same way Wayne will catch up. They're all going to catch up, and they're all going to play, but he just has some catching up to do.
Have you been able to talk to Bullet at all?
I spoke to him once on the phone. We're going to present him with his ring before the game, his Final Four ring. We're waiting for this game to do it.
Do you know if he's healthy enough to play, or is he still banged up?
We're going to give him his ring either way.
How much offense are you guys gonna run? It's one of those, it's like a TV game. You said during the scrimmages we're not gonna run any of our offense because we're not gonna give Masiello.
We're gonna press Manhattan so much it's not gonna matter. We're just gonna get after them from the moment they step on that court. So it really won't matter. We're not gonna run anything. We're just gonna trap every single player he puts out on that floor. So it's not gonna matter. So we'll be able to run our stuff.
You're having fun with us with this whole Manhattan thing over the past couple of weeks. Are you talking in person, having these kind of fun trash talk?
He just texted me the other day and then called me and said, "Coach, will you tell Doug Davenport to stop sending me the practice films?" And so he thinks he has us down. I know he's got people. He's a single guy, and there's like 15 young women taking notes about our offenses up there, right behind our bench. So they're all girls that he dated while he was here.
He's probably watching online.
Speaking of Manhattan, how worried have you been about the weather situation? How much have you watched that in Ryan out there?
Yeah, I have watched it, and it's obviously New Jersey got hit very, very hard. Lower Manhattan is, I've never seen water come up like that. And fortunately, Midtown is in good shape, but New Jersey is the worst hit. And it was devastation. And then the fires in Queens with the 80 homes. So this is, in our lifetime, probably the worst we've seen.
You've talked about Luke in glowing terms from the beginning, before we ever even got a chance to see him. Now that he's had a chance to work in the fall practice, he's a part of a team that's going to take the floor. And let's talk about what he does for this team.
Well, what do you think of him?
I think he makes everybody else better.
Yeah, I think he's, I kept taxing my brain throughout the years of somebody he reminded me of, and then finally it dawned on me as a player I coached with the New York Knicks named Rick Carlisle, who today is the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. He reminds me of Rick a lot. Rick had the ability to get the ball up the court against pressure, even though he wasn't the fastest guy. He was incredibly smart, very, very crafty. And Luke is just, he's just a really special basketball player because he's got all the head fakes to get fouled. Then he goes to the line, he's an 80% foul shooter. He's always looking up the court and making the pass. He's a high basketball IQ person. And when you got Peyton and him on the court, look at the scrimmages, and I tried to mix it up. Peyton was 3-0. Shane was 0-3. So I said to the staff, I said, "What do you think Shane's going to say when I bring that up?" And they all said the same thing. "I didn't play with Peyton." And it's a pretty good line. It's whoever really plays with Peyton, and that whoever plays with Luke is going to look much better. Peyton's really, really developed into a great point guard. now he's always pivoting in the lane rather than just leaving his feet and throwing it away. He's always dribbling it back out and looking for another hole. Everything that we put into it for 4 years has come to the forefront right now. And he's a tremendous little point guard. If there's a better point guard in America than him, I want to see it. And I won't say that's been the past 3 years. It hasn't been. I mean, he showed strong glimpses of it in the tournament last year. But he's really playing great basketball right now.
What's he gotten better in since the tournament last year?
He's gotten better shooting the basketball. I think we talked about last year with the clips of Steve Nash and looking at it. When you study Steve Nash, you see poetry in motion. When you watch Steve Nash, you understand a guy who really gets the game, really sees it. And Steve's got very good size for a guard. He looks small out there, but he's like 6'2.5", 6'3", and he really sees the floor. He really understands how to run everything. And now Peyton does. It just takes any point guard. Now it's getting the guy to back him up. Whether it all depends on, if you have a 5'9" jet from Missouri, you don't want to put that on Luke Hancock. It depends on who you're playing. It may have to be Russ, it may have to be Kevin Ware to back him up, because Peyton's going to have those nights where he gets in some really foul trouble.
Are you worried about Shane and the maturity issues? Are you worried about it?
I don't.
You feel like he's worked through.
I don't worry about it because Montrez has beat him out. It's just part of it. Now, if Shane didn't have these little suspensions, would he beat him out? Who knows? But he's got a leg up because he's not playing. So, we've got to get ready now for these exhibition games, and we know Shane's not going to play, so he's beat him out. Now, if Shane's ready and he's ready to suit up, will he beat him out? Who knows? I mean, they're different. Right now, Shane's got to stop being careless with the basketball. He's turning it over about, 10 to 15 times in practice. Now, he's a much better defensive player than he's been. He's quicker. He's stronger. He's improved his shot. So he's getting there. He's just got to stop turning the ball over and work on his ball handling and his passing. And that's because he didn't have an active summer. So he's going to catch up, and he's going to be very good. If I didn't have Montrez, I'd be very, very concerned about it. But because we have Montrez, we don't have to worry about it right now, because Shane's he'll get it back. I've got confidence in the young man. He's going to get it back. He made some mistakes like they all do. I made many more than he's made when I was in college.
But him getting there, how important is that for you all too, as you said, reach your potential, be as good as you can be? Don't you have to have him?
We have to get it back, but it's a matter of certain players. Peyton's even lived in the gym the whole summer. So you see he's much more ready right now. Shane Bohannon did not live it. Certain guys are just basketball junkies. I was a basketball junkie. Peyton's now a basketball junkie. Just certain guys live in the gym, certain guys don't. So it's like, when players come for baseball training, some are ready, some aren't. The veterans aren't. The young guys. Peyton was just ready, and then there's a couple other guys that are really ready to go right now. He's just not ready to go.
What do you want to get out of the exhibition season the most? You're obviously going to be.
Well, Pikeville's going to be a pressing running game. Bellman they move the ball so quick. You can work a lot on switching. Their ball movement's great. They shoot the ball great. But you're not going to play against too many teams like Bellman. You'll play against more teams like a Pikeville. But Bellarmine's good for us because they put a lot of pressure on you to guard the perimeter. They're such a great ball fake team, such a great passing team. It puts a lot of defensive pressure on it. So it's something that they're both different, and they both help us get ready for the season. And I am very concerned about Manhattan College now. I'm going to tell you, they are.
Yeah. He's watching. He says it's like we're playing an NBA team. I hope we can keep it within 40.
Yeah, I've heard that line before. But I can tell you, they got a young man who's averaging 18, 19 points a game and shoots 45% from the field. They've got players sitting out. They won 20 games. And, I couldn't figure it out, all along. He just kept hopping on the first game. And he just, I know what he's going to do. He's going to run things that I haven't seen before and try to drive me crazy with that. But we got to try to do some things that he hasn't seen. That's why we'll see who can surprise the other guy the most.
So should they be favored in that game?
Well, I don't know anything about gambling, but I'd make us a 3-point favorite.
Gambling. your horse Friday. Is that kind of neat for you? I mean, you've got so many now young horses, and to have one in the Breeders' Cup is kind of, it's got to be kind of neat for you.
I think it is neat. You know, we finished second in the Champagne Stakes with Golden Sense, and now we have South Floyd running in the Breeders' Cup. I think we have Ava possibly running that day. May scratch it, but you know, it's also, you know what I think of a player when I name a horse after him, and it's not their talent. When I name a horse after a guy, it's a unique ability as a person that is a characteristic that I hear the trainer say, and then I immediately think of that.
Did you have South Floyd in your mind just or
Or
did it happen?
I just thought of the street,
Yeah.
and I've seen such growth on South Floyd Street that I did it. And you know, when the guy said this horse could be anything, you know, he could be the worst horse in the lot, the best horse in the lot. He could be anything. He's so talented. And I thought of Russ. That's named Rusticulous. He told me the other horse had speed and quickness. I thought of Stevie. He said, "My God, this horse is gigantic." I thought of Gorky. You know, so it's always. It's the people I'm naming it after. It's not the basketball player.
What about Ava?
Avar? He's Don Knotts. You know, he's a very nervous horse, always sweating and washing out, but very meticulous about everything he does.
Have you talked to T. Will since he got in? What's his path back to the NBA?
I don't know. You know, Terrence is. You know, last I heard, he had a 2-year contract with Sacramento. Last I spoke to him, and then suddenly he was in Detroit. I don't know what happened from that conversation I had with him. So, but I know he's getting ready to go to China.
Oh, really? That's where he's going. Yeah. Are you surprised that he hasn't been able to stick in the league?
You know, he's getting. I thought he was a perfect pro player in terms of his body, in terms of his defense, in terms of his passing. And I think he could have a long career in the pros. He's just got to get his niche with somebody. You know, and it's a lot of pros, a lot of college guys when they go to the pros, try to be something they're not. I always remember the Roger Rhodes thing. You know, great slasher, great post-up player, great passer, great defender. You know, great one-on-one guy in the lane. I got to shoot threes. You know, you got to stick with what you do while you're working on that. And that's why, you know, with this basketball team this year, it's. You know, we're not a three-point shooting team, but like I told you, I think we'll make anywhere from 6 to 9 3-pointers a game. But that's not our niche with this basketball team, and every team has to be different. In 2005, that was our niche. That carried us to a Final Four. This team is going to live with their defensive pressure. They're going to live with their rebounding and their motion.
You mentioned Russ was starting to kind of get the light switches going on for him. Does that mean that, you know, kind of the ridiculousness is gone? Like that?
Well, rusticulous is a good term. You know, it's not. It started with takeoff from Linsanity. You know, I say that as an endearing term, rusticulous. You know, because it's when I say he's ridiculous, that's when I'm pissed off at him. But rusticulous is a young man that can just do anything and make something happen. But he's really, really getting good right now. I have to say, the last week of practice, I've been taken back by finally how much it's registered with him. And now I'm hoping when the lights come on, that it's not just practice, that he won't get too excited, and that's when he gets a little revved up.
Last year, he was a bad practice player, right? So
this is the first week I've seen it in my life. You know, I've had about 5 talks with him and said, when do you want to, we've had 8 pro scouts in to watch us practice, when do you want a pro scout to say to me, well, I really like that Russ Smith, he brings a lot to the table. And he looked at me and said, what do you mean? I said, well, we've had 2.5 years now of pro scouts coming in here, 30 of them per year, and nobody's ever asked a question about Russ Smith. When do you want to reach the point where someone looks at you as a serious basketball player? I'd like to happen now. I said, you got to do these following things. And he's been doing it. And I just hope it transmits into game time. Because the last week it's been impressive. Peyton and Russ have been really, really impressive. And then you put Luke in the mix, and you got 3 guys that are always attacking you offensively. They're attack players offensively. And then you got Montrez, who, I said, Montrez, all you have to do is treat every one of their penetrations as a chance to get a dunk, and every one of their misses as a chance to get a shot for yourself. And he's done that. And Gorky's really coming on now as well. Gorky wasn't, you know, like Shane, Gorky didn't come in, you know, in basketball ready either. And so he's really coming into his own right now. And like Shane will, I think, in the next week or two.
One more, Coach.
Coach, you just talked about a lot about your guards today, and you got a lot of height this year on the roster. And I wonder if you could kind of run across that front line and just talk a little bit basketball and person about a couple of those guys.
Well, the one, I'll very briefly, the young man Mango is going to be tremendous someday. He's got unbelievable speed and quickness. Quickness like I've not seen on too many 6'10" players. You don't see guys like that too much. So he's going to be something special down the road. He's got 4 years of eligibility. I couldn't have recruited a 4-year player as good as him this year. So that's that in itself. Zach Price is improving and getting better. There are some days I think Zach Price has it, and there's other days he's not as motivated. But once he becomes consistently motivated, I think he's going to be a very good basketball player. It's just sometimes bigs take longer to develop. Montrez just has to learn footwork. Montrez has to learn the game. Montrez is a terrific athlete, has great athletic things about himself. You know, great wingspan. He runs great, and he can do a lot of things. He just has to work on his footwork. He has to work on his passing. All the fundamentals of the game, he just has to work really, really hard on. And of course, Gorky, I think, is terrific, and he's just coming into his own right now. I think Shane, when he catches up, will be terrific. I like what I see from him. It's just he's very rusty, and it's just rustiness from not having a productive summer. But he'll get it before we get too much into the swing of it. He'll get it because he's working very hard at it. Shane, if you told him, come to the gym, this is what we're going to do, there won't be a harder worker in the gym. But you got to tell him to go to the gym. That's a different thing. He's not going to. If you don't tell him, he won't be there. But he gives you as much as any player I've ever coached once he gets there.
Gorky's potential, like where you see his art.
Well, Gorky would be like a very poor version of Akeem Olajuwon. A very poor version. You know, in other words, Akeem didn't. He had all those herky-jerky moves, and Gorky's developing that. He's developing those, you know, those jerk moves, turn around with a little fall away. He's starting to really enhance his game. He's nowhere near that person. But, I mean, that's the type of motion he has. He's a very good shot blocker. He's learned an awful lot about the game mentally. He's really evolved into a very smart basketball player.
He likes basketball.
He does. He likes to play it. He likes... Gorky loves people. Loves people. And he doesn't differentiate who you are. If you just stopped him out there, he would give you as much time as you needed if he had the time. If there was somebody outside that stopped him, and he would give you that person. He just loves people, and he doesn't differentiate who you are. It doesn't matter to him. He's just a kind, thoughtful, wonderful person. A good breakdown? Thank you, everyone.
We won't get anybody in here today. We'll sign up on time. Give me a second. I think I've got
No players came?
No, I didn't practice here.
Okay.